Nobody is coming. Gladys's story. The tide was coming in slow that evening, the way it does in early autumn, and I sat on my deck with a glass of wine sweating in my hand, looking up at the house behind me like I still couldn't quite believe. It was mine. 3 stories of cedar shake and glass, a widow's walk on top I never use because I don't need to watch for anybody coming home anymore. 60 years old, and some nights I still catch myself waiting for the other shoe to drop. Old habits like that don't leave easy. My name is Gladys Jones. For most of my life, that name didn't mean much to anybody outside a 5-mile stretch of a small southern town where I raised 3 children in a house with a leaking roof and furniture that had already lived 2 lives before it came to me. We drove old cars that coughed black smoke every winter morning. I clipped coupons like it was a religion. I want to tell you it built character. Mostly it just built exhaustion. I had a husband back then. I use that word loosely because a husband is supposed to be home. Mine travelled for work, or so he said, and whether that was true or not stopped mattering to me around the time our youngest started walking. He'd blow through on a Sunday smelling like cigarettes and somebody else's cologne, toss a wad of cash on the counter like he was tipping a waitress, and be gone again by Tuesday. I raised those 3 kids close enough to a loan that the difference didn't much register anymore. What did register was that nobody was coming to help. Not him. And as the kids got older, not them either. I remember standing in my own kitchen, maybe 42 years old, telling my oldest that I didn't have enough to cover his sister's medicine and mine too that month, and could he help out until payday. He looked at me, my own boy, that I had walked the floor with as a baby, and he said, "Mama, you really need to learn to budget." Like I hadn't been budgeting since before he was born. Like budgeting was a magic trick I'd simply never bothered to learn, instead of a thing I did every single day of my life with nothing to budget. That was the tone from all 3 of them. Once they got old enough to have opinions and jobs of their own. I should have planned better. I should have gone to school. I should have married different. As if I'd had a stack of options laid out on a table somewhere and just carelessly picked the hardest one. Somewhere around then, something in me went quiet and hard, like a pond icing over. I remember the exact thought, standing at that same counter, nobody is coming. If this life is going to change, I am the one who has to change it. The trouble was, I didn't have much to work with. I had been a housewife since I was 19 years old. No degree, no resume, not even a typed one. I wrote it out by hand at my kitchen table with a ballpoint pen, and half of what I put on it was raised 3 children and managed a household. On a limited budget, which is true, and which meant absolutely nothing to anybody hiring in town. What I did have was that I could cook. I had always cooked. Big Sunday dinners for a husband who rarely showed up to eat them, church potlucks, funeral food, the kind of dishes people ask you to bring back every single time. So when I saw a little cafe on 4th Street looking for kitchen help, I put on my one good blouse and walked in and told the owner, a tired man named Ellis, that I could cook better than whoever he currently had, and that he should give me 1 week to prove it before he decided I was wrong. Gave me the week. I kept the job for 4 years. It was not glamorous work. I was on my feet 10, 12 hours some days, coming home smelling like fry oil and bleach, hands cracked from the dishwater. But I saved every dollar of it like it was the last dollar I would ever see. I had automatic transfers set up before. Automatic transfers were something regular people did. Anything to keep myself from touching that money. It was my friend Judith who planted the seed. We were sitting on her porch one evening after I'd brought over a peach cobbler for no particular reason, and she took 1 bite and set her fork down and said, "Gladys, you are out of your mind working for somebody else. You should be doing this on your own." I laughed her off at first. I had 3 kids who thought I couldn't manage a checkbook. What did I know about running a business? But the idea sat in me the way good ideas do, quiet and stubborn, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. Started small, the way you have to. A birthday party for 8, a retirement luncheon for 12. I did all of it myself in the beginning, bought the groceries, cooked through the night, hauled the trays in my own trunk, and served the food with my hair pinned back and a smile, plastered on, even when my feet felt like they belonged to somebody else. I charged fair prices because I didn't yet believe I was allowed to charge what I was worth. Word travels fast in a small town when the food is good, and mine was good. One gathering led to a referral, which led to a bigger gathering, which led to another referral, until I was booking weddings and corporate luncheons and 50th anniversary parties 2 and 3 months out. I hired my first helper, a 19-year-old girl named Patrice who could chop an onion faster than anybody I'd ever seen, and then a second, and eventually I had a small crew and a rented commercial kitchen and a waiting list. A reporter from the regional paper did a piece on me. From housewife to hostess, they called it, with a photo of me standing over a tray of my own biscuits, looking like I didn't know where to put my hands. After that, the phone rang different. Bigger companies, bigger budgets, brides who wanted a tasting before they'd commit to anything. I was making real money for the first time in my life. Not comfortable money. Real money, the kind that let me look at a bill and not feel my stomach drop. But I want to be honest with you because there's no use telling this story any other way. The work nearly broke me. I was 62 hours a week some weeks, up at 4, asleep by midnight if I was lucky, my knees aching in a way they'd never ached before, and I remember standing in that rented kitchen one night at 11 o'clock, elbow deep in 100 deviled eggs, thinking, how much longer can I keep doing this before it kills me? That's about the time the offer came, a large catering company out of the city, the kind that did galas and corporate conventions. Names you'd recognise if I said them. Sent a man in a very good suit to sit across from me at my own kitchen table. He wanted to buy me out, not just the business. He wanted my name on the label and my recipes in his files, the actual handwritten cards, some of them older than my children. He said my story was worth something to his brand, the woman who built something out of nothing, and he was willing to pay a premium for all of it. I sat there for a long moment before I answered. Him. I thought about my knees, and my 4 hours of sleep, and the deviled eggs, and I thought about how tired I truly was. Tired in a way that scared me a little. Tired in the way where you start to wonder what you're actually building toward if you never get to enjoy any of it. I signed the papers 3 weeks later. With that money, I did the one thing I had wanted my whole life, and never once said out loud, because saying it out loud felt greedy for a woman who used to count coupons. At a kitchen table, I bought a beach house. Not a big fancy show of a thing, just for looks. A real house, with a wide deck and big windows, and a view of water I could wake up to every single morning of whatever years I had left. I hadn't been in it 2 months, before my children found out. They showed up together, which should have told me something on its own, because those 3 hadn't agreed to do anything as a unit since their father's funeral. They stood on my new porch in their good clothes and told me how proud they were, how happy for me, and then, within about 4 minutes, got around to the actual reason they'd driven 3 hours to see me. They needed money. Car payments, credit cards, a business one of them wanted to start, though I noticed nobody offered any details on that one. They said they deserved some of it, that it was only fair, since I clearly had plenty now. I stood, in my own doorway, in a house I had built with my own 2 aching hands, and I looked at these 3 grown adults who had once told their mother to budget better while she went without, and I said, I owe you nothing. I told them they had good jobs and good sense when they chose to use it, and that it was long past time they learned to budget the way I'd had to learn, back when nobody was willing to lend me a dime. I told them I loved them, because I did, and still do, but that love and money are 2 separate currencies, and I wasn't going to confuse the 2 anymore. Then I showed them the door, the same door they'd knocked on not 15 minutes before, all smiles. I poured myself a glass of wine after they left, walked out onto my deck, and sat down facing the water. The sun was low over the waves, turning. Them the colour of good honey, and the breeze off the ocean carried that particular salt smell I still haven't gotten used to, and hope I never do. I thought about the woman I used to be, standing at that counter in that falling-down kitchen, telling herself nobody is coming. She'd been right, nobody had come. So she'd gone and gotten it herself, every bit of it, 1 long shift and 1 hard-won dollar at a time. I lifted my glass to her, out there on my own deck, in my own house, with my own money, and I smiled.